Look at yourself honestly when pressure appears. The moment tension enters the room, something inside you shifts. Your breathing shortens. Your thoughts scatter. Your body tightens as if danger has already won. You know the feeling because you have lived it. Pressure walks into your life like a storm, and instead of standing inside it, you feel the instinct to step back. Something in your chest whispers that you should avoid the moment, avoid the conflict, avoid the weight of the situation. But the disturbing truth is not the pressure itself. The real fear hiding underneath is something deeper. What terrifies most men is not the moment of tension. It is the possibility of discovering what they truly are when the moment demands strength. Pressure removes disguise. It strips away personality, excuses, and performance. What remains is the raw structure of your mind. Machiavelli once wrote that necessity reveals character more clearly than comfort ever can. Pressure is necessity. It forces truth to surface. When pressure appears, your instincts begin betraying you. Words disappear from your mouth. Your thoughts freeze. Your body reacts before you even understand what is happening. Many men believe this reaction means they are weak. But the reality is different. They were simply trained incorrectly. From childhood, most men are conditioned to be harmless. They are taught to avoid confrontation, to soften their strength, to remain agreeable even when the moment demands firmness. They are told that calm obedience is virtue and that danger must always be avoided. Over time, this conditioning creates a man who hesitates in moments that require decisiveness. Inside that man, there is something else waiting. Not chaos, not violence, something colder and more controlled. A version of you that does not panic when tension rises. A mind that sees pressure and becomes sharper instead of weaker. A presence that does not flinch when circumstances become hostile. This inner force is not loud. It does not shout or perform. It observes quietly. It measures the situation. It waits for the moment that favors it before moving. The difference between men who collapse under pressure and men who dominate it begins here. One reacts emotionally, the other calculates. Look carefully at your life and you will notice a pattern. Every time you tried to appear harmless, someone ignored you. Every time you remained quiet, someone spoke over you. Every time you softened yourself, someone discovered that softness and used it. Harmlessness is rarely respected. In the real world, harmlessness often becomes invisibility. What the world ignores, it eventually steps over. Machiavelli once suggested that respect often grows not from kindness alone, but from the knowledge that capability exists behind restraint. This does not mean cruelty or aggression. It means potential. The capacity to act decisively if circumstances demand it. A man who possesses strength but chooses calm is treated differently from a man who possesses nothing but politeness. Pressure reveals this difference immediately. When tension rises, the harmless man collapses internally because he has never developed the tools required to stand firm. But the man who has disciplined himself responds differently. His breathing slows. His eyes remain steady. His mind observes the environment instead of panicking inside it. Strength begins in discipline. Every time you face discomfort rather than avoiding it, your mind becomes harder. Every time you maintain control when chaos appears, you build another layer of internal armor. Every time you choose structure instead of emotional reaction, you strengthen the foundation that pressure cannot easily break. Dangerous capability is not created during conflict. It is created long before the conflict arrives. Picture yourself in a moment of confrontation. Someone challenges you, tests you, or attempts to intimidate you. The undisciplined version of you reacts instantly. Emotion rises, words spill out. The situation controls your behavior. The disciplined version of you moves differently. You remain still for a moment. Your breathing stays steady. Your attention sharpens instead of scattering. You observe the details others ignore. You notice tone, posture, hesitation, and opportunity. Your silence begins to change the atmosphere. People are unsettled by calm presence under pressure. They expect reaction. They expect emotional movement. When none arrives, uncertainty spreads. That uncertainty becomes influence. Strength is not noise, it is control. The man who can remain steady when tension surrounds him immediately shifts the balance of the environment. Pressure begins respecting him. The transformation begins with one principle. Stop trying to appear harmless. Focus instead on becoming capable. Capability creates calm. Calm creates control. Control reshapes every situation you enter. The man who trusts his own capacity does not panic when pressure appears. He knows that even if circumstances become difficult, he has the internal structure to respond. This confidence is not arrogance, it is preparation. Preparation builds the mind that pressure cannot easily bend. And once that foundation exists, something powerful begins to emerge. You stop trying to escape pressure. You begin using it. That is where transformation truly begins. Once you understand that capability changes how you respond to pressure, the next battlefield appears inside your own body. Long before your thoughts begin to collapse, your physiology starts reacting. Your heart begins racing. Your shoulders tighten without permission. Your breath shortens and your muscles stiffen. Your body moves into panic even while your mind tries to stay calm. Most men believe these reactions are unavoidable. They treat them as proof that pressure has already won. But these reactions are simply signals. Signals can be redirected. Machiavelli observed that anyone who cannot command himself cannot command anything around him. The same rule applies in moments of tension. If your body controls your mind, the situation controls you. But when your body begins obeying your direction, the balance shifts. Your body is the first territory pressure attempts to invade. When stress appears, your nervous system pushes you toward impulsive action. It floods your system with urgency and adrenaline, encouraging fast decisions and emotional responses. This reaction once protected humans from danger, but in modern conflict, it often creates mistakes. The disciplined man learns to interrupt this process. Instead of allowing the body to accelerate, he slows it intentionally. Instead of breathing shallowly, he expands his breath. Instead of tightening his muscles, he relaxes them deliberately. These small adjustments send signals back to the brain that the situation remains under control. Calm physiology produces calm thinking. When your breathing slows, your mind exits panic mode and enters command mode. Perception sharpens. Details become visible again. Time feels slower, giving you space to observe and decide rather than react. Most people never discover this power because they follow their first instinct. Pressure speeds them up and they obey. The disciplined man does the opposite. He slows himself down. In the middle of chaos, his breathing deepens. His shoulders drop. His posture becomes grounded. His movements become deliberate instead of frantic. While others rush, he becomes still. This stillness changes the entire environment. People expect tension to produce urgency. When someone remains calm in a moment that should create panic, it unsettles them. Calmness becomes a signal of control, and control influences perception. A steady man appears stronger than he may even feel. Commanding your physiology also gives you time. Time to observe what others reveal when pressure affects them. Time to notice hesitation, fear, impatience, or aggression appearing in the people around you. While others are reacting emotionally, you are collecting information. This advantage becomes powerful in any confrontation, negotiation, or crisis. The person who remains composed while others panic becomes the center of gravity in the situation. Decisions begin orbiting around his stability, but controlling your body is only the first layer. The deeper battle occurs in the mind. Emotional impulses destroy more opportunities than external threats ever will. Anger pushes men into reckless decisions. Fear pushes them into retreat before the situation demands it. Desire clouds their judgment and blinds them to consequences. These impulses move faster than logic, which is why they are so dangerous. Most men obey these emotions automatically. They treat feelings as commands instead of signals. The disciplined man treats them differently. He observes emotion without surrendering to it. When anger appears, he notices it but does not act immediately. When fear arises, he studies it rather than obeying it. When excitement appears, he slows himself down instead of rushing forward. Emotion becomes information rather than instruction. This shift changes everything. A man who reacts emotionally becomes predictable. Anyone observing him can trigger the response they want simply by pushing the correct emotional button. But a man who pauses between feeling and action becomes extremely difficult to manipulate. His responses cannot be anticipated. People begin miscalculating him because they expect emotional behavior that never arrives. This calm calculation transforms conflict into strategy. Instead of shouting when insulted, he studies the intention behind the insult. Instead of panicking when threatened, he analyzes the real danger involved. Every reaction becomes deliberate rather than automatic. This discipline creates a mind similar to a chess player. Every movement is measured. Every decision is weighed. Time stretches because the man refuses to surrender it to emotion. Emotional control also creates psychological pressure on others. When someone attempts to provoke you and receives no reaction, confusion appears. They expected anger, fear, or argument. Instead, they encounter composure. Their confidence weakens. People become uncertain when their attempts to control a situation fail. Silence and calculation feel heavier than emotional resistance. The disciplined man does not suppress emotion completely. He simply refuses to allow emotion to decide his behavior. He feels it, recognizes it, and then chooses action according to strategy rather than impulse. This discipline creates authority. People trust calm minds during tension. They sense that a person who does not panic may see things more clearly than everyone else. Leadership often appears naturally around those who maintain emotional stability when others cannot. But emotional control also reveals another advantage. It allows you to move through situations at your own tempo. Pressure tries to force speed. Urgency spreads through environments quickly. People rush decisions, speak without thinking, and act simply to escape discomfort. The disciplined man refuses that pace. He moves according to his own rhythm. When others accelerate, he slows down. When others hesitate, he acts decisively. Instead of following the emotional tempo of the crowd, he chooses his timing carefully. Timing becomes a weapon. A delayed response can reveal more than a rushed answer. A moment of silence can create tension that exposes hidden motives. A measured step can shift the entire tone of an interaction. Patience often intimidates people more than aggression. When someone cannot force you into their rhythm, they lose influence over your behavior. Their urgency becomes their weakness. The disciplined man understands that every moment contains an ideal time to act. Moving too early wastes opportunity. Moving too late allows the moment to disappear. Mastering tempo means learning to wait until action carries maximum effect. While others rush forward blindly, He remains aware of the exact moment when movement will matter most. That patience becomes power, because the man who controls his timing controls the situation itself. Once you learn to control your body, silence your impulses, and move at your own rhythm, something important begins to change in how you experience fear. Most men spend their lives treating fear as an enemy. They believe fear is proof of weakness, a signal to retreat, something shameful that must be hidden or avoided. But this misunderstanding is exactly what keeps them powerless under pressure. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is information. Machiavelli understood that danger reveals more truth than comfort ever will. A man who learns to face fear without collapsing begins seeing things others cannot. While the frightened mind panics, the trained mind studies the signal. Fear appears when something important is at stake. It appears when the environment becomes unpredictable. It appears when risk enters the moment. These signals are not meant to paralyze you. They are meant to sharpen you. The problem is that most men never learn how to interpret fear correctly. When fear enters their body, they fight against it. They resist it. They attempt to push it away. In doing so, they create internal conflict that multiplies their confusion. Their attention becomes divided between the situation and their attempt to escape the feeling. The disciplined mind moves differently. Instead of rejecting fear, it observes it. When tension rises, the trained man asks himself what the signal is revealing. Where is the risk? Where is the opportunity? What element of the environment triggered this response? Fear becomes a spotlight. It highlights the parts of the situation that require attention. It forces awareness into areas that might otherwise be ignored. Instead of blinding the mind, it focuses it. This shift changes everything. A frightened man sees only threat. A disciplined man sees structure inside the threat. He begins mapping the situation more clearly than the people around him. Notice how most individuals behave under pressure. Their vision narrows. Their thinking becomes scattered. They speak quickly, move impulsively, and betray their intentions without realizing it. Fear exposes them. The disciplined man watches this happen. He sees the cracks forming in their composure. He notices hesitation, frustration, impatience. Every signal becomes information that can be used. Fear sharpens his perception rather than weakening it. This is why pressure often destroys some people while strengthening others. The difference is not courage alone. The difference is interpretation. When fear is treated as an enemy, it controls behavior. When fear is treated as information, it becomes a tool. The trained mind learns to convert fear into focus. Instead of asking how to escape the moment, it asks how to understand it. Instead of rushing decisions, it slows down and studies the environment. The surge of adrenaline becomes energy rather than panic. Time seems to stretch. Moments that would overwhelm others become manageable because the mind remains clear. Each movement, each word, each gesture becomes visible with precision. This clarity creates another powerful advantage. Non-reaction. The world constantly tries to provoke you. People test boundaries. Circumstances create tension. Unexpected challenges appear without warning. Most individuals react instantly to these triggers. They argue, they defend themselves, they panic, they explain. Every reaction reveals information. When someone can provoke a reaction from you, they gain influence over your behavior. They can repeat the same trigger whenever they want control. The disciplined man removes this advantage. He does not react immediately. When provoked, he pauses. When insulted, he remains still. When pressure rises, he observes rather than responding instantly. This refusal to react becomes unsettling for others. People expect predictable responses. When those responses disappear, uncertainty grows. The person attempting to provoke you becomes uncomfortable because their strategy is failing. Silence creates pressure. Stillness becomes authority. The difference between passivity and disciplined non-reaction is awareness. A passive man remains silent because he feels powerless. A disciplined man remains silent because he is calculating. While others reveal their intentions through emotional responses, he gathers information. This restraint often causes opponents to expose themselves. They speak too much. They push too hard. They reveal impatience or insecurity while trying to force a reaction. Every mistake increases your advantage. Non-reaction also protects your reputation. People quickly learn that provoking you produces no reward. Over time, they become cautious. They hesitate before challenging you because they cannot predict how you will respond. Your calm becomes intimidating. From this position of stability, you gain the final advantage. You begin using pressure itself as a weapon. Most people try to escape pressure. They attempt to remove tension from situations as quickly as possible. The disciplined mind does the opposite. It allows pressure to remain, because pressure reveals truth. When circumstances become intense, people show their real character. They reveal fear, impatience, ambition, insecurity. Words become less controlled. Behavior becomes more honest. This exposure provides enormous information. While others struggle under the weight of the moment, you remain steady and watch carefully. Their mistakes become opportunities. Their panic becomes leverage. Pressure begins working for you rather than against you. In negotiations, confrontation, or leadership, this principle becomes extremely powerful. The person who remains calm while tension rises naturally appears in control. Others begin adjusting their behavior around his composure. They rush to resolve the tension while he studies the situation. Patience becomes dominance. The disciplined man understands that the perfect moment to act often appears when everyone else is losing control. That moment arrives when pressure has pushed others beyond their emotional limits. They reveal their weaknesses without realizing it. One precise action at that moment can shift the entire outcome. Pressure becomes a tool. Fear becomes energy. Silence becomes influence. These principles transform how you move through life. Instead of avoiding tension, you begin welcoming it as a chance to strengthen your mind. Instead of fearing conflict, you approach it with curiosity and control. You become someone pressure cannot easily break. Machiavelli believed that the greatest victory any man can achieve is mastery over himself. Once that mastery exists, external challenges lose their power. A man who controls his breath, his impulses, his timing, and his interpretation of fear becomes extremely difficult to defeat. Because nothing outside him can move faster than the discipline inside him. That is how pressure stops being an enemy. It becomes the forge where strength is revealed, and the man who stands calmly inside that forge becomes something rare, unbreakable.